if I saw another day, only to scream into the night. Nothing ever tries to change, even if I want to realize. 'Cause I've been sitting here, same old ways, taking off without the same escape. Darling, when you go away, it won't be as simple for you.
Yo, guys, it is Old Man G back again with another live stream of Red Devil Studio. It's another weekly episode of Top 10 United Players Weekly. I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Maisie. Maisie, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you? And thanks for having me on again.
Awesome. Thank you again for coming back. I mean, for those who are watching, remember to like, share, and subscribe to Red Devil Studio. Follow us on Twitter and also head over to Devils United to subscribe to Maisie's channel as well. The link will be in the description. This is going to be a slightly different show because a lot has happened today. Obviously, UEFA corruption exposed. As you can see, next we've got United being drawn against Atletico, not PSG. In case people are behind, we're not being drawn against PSG. We're going to be talking about the Brentford game as well. Is that going to be cancelled or not? And what the impact that's going to have on Manchester United in for the going season. And then we're going to finally end with actually reviewing our top 10 players for the week. Who goes in, who goes out, we'll see. Get involved in the comments. Remember to ask us questions. Shout out to SMB in the chat. Yo, what's up?
Hey.
Absolute madness today. This made the Ballon d'Or controversy. It did actually. People saying Messi got robbed, but you know, this was just pure UEFA corruption at its finest. You know, there's nothing else to really be said about that. It was just pure corruption. So why don't we just literally just get into it? Just the UCL draw. I mean, first and foremost, before we go into United being drawn against Atletico, like, what were you think when this was going on, Maisie? What were you thinking? What was going on?
You know, I was actually live on my channel. I was actually doing the draw itself. So, because obviously I was controlling the stream at the time, and I was trying to watch it. I didn't notice it when I first watched it, and it was only until somebody actually pointed it out to me after the stream, sending me a video going, "You never guess what UEFA done," because everyone was going on about on social media about for weeks was saying we want PSG, and then when it all came out, there was like, PSG, we've got the hardest opponent, this is corrupt and all that, and I was like, why are you crying about PSG? Like, you wanted PSG the other day, and after I was literally thinking off the top of my head, but then once, of course, my friend sent me the video saying, look at this, like, look what UEFA has done, this is corrupt. I was looking, I was like, yeah, it is corrupt. I can't believe that has happened, because for one, they shouldn't have put us in the same pot as Villarreal, knowing we was in that group stage as Villarreal, because we can't have the same we can't be in the same pot as someone who in the group stage, and plus if they're in the same country as you, so we couldn't have been in Chelsea's pot neither. So they've obviously put us in Villarreal, and then they went and said, the person, Man United has just been drawn. I was like, we haven't just been drawn because you put us in the wrong pot. So then they didn't even put us in the Atletico Madrid pot, and then it left us right to the end with a PSG. So personally for me, I think UEFA use it as a franchise just so they could, let's just say, have a Messi and Ronaldo reunion, because they know they're going to get a lot more viewers on the UEFA website, their streams, on BT's going to make a whole lot more money. They're going to make more money in terms of tickets, plane flights are going to cost a lot more money. So they're making a lot more money by this Messi and Ronaldo reunion. So I know exactly what they were doing. They was using the Champions League as a franchise for me, just so they could make an extra little bit of money. People are pointing it out, and people are saying it's Man United fans who were crying about it. No, that's not the case, because Atletico Madrid Football Club even come out and said that they made a complaint to UEFA about it. So they've said, right, we're redrawing it. Even that second draw was a fix, because they come out and... So we've got Atletico Madrid. Fair enough, that was fine up to that point. But then it said that Liverpool wasn't eligible for Villarreal. Why was that? Why were they eligible for Villarreal? Villarreal isn't in England.
Yeah,
Villarreal did not play in Liverpool's group stages. The only team they shouldn't have been eligible against was Chelsea, and they shouldn't have been eligible against Atletico Madrid. So there's another thing what they did mess up. So technically that should have been just as void, just as the first one. But I've never seen anything in my whole life that we've had to take a redraw in a Champions League round or a Champions League draw. I've never seen it in my life.
I think it just goes to show you that UEFA obviously have been fairly sketchy. Probably they still are sketchy. I think just in this instance they got caught. What I find interesting was that, like, they kept on saying, I'm getting to the comment section because some interesting ones, that they kept on saying, oh, it was a technical error because someone told the wrong information via headset to the person picking the balls. And I was like, so let me get this straight. What you're basically saying is that someone tells someone what balls the pots are in, and then they go and then pick them randomly. Like, that's clear that the fact that someone's speaking into a headpiece, clearly that process could be corrupted easily, you know? So
I agree.
So Nico Brink says, I know this is a United channel. I mean, it's United, but we do talk about European football. I still do have a Red Devils podcast. We talk just general sort of football stuff. So I want to get that back. But it's just timing is the thing. But how is it London Blues get the same draw twice? Fishy. It is fishy. It is.
I agree. It is extremely fishy. And do you know something what I do find fishy as well? You either needed a headpiece to speak to somebody, an earpiece, or they need somebody alongside to say, you're not eligible for this. But if UEFA was that passionate about the Champions League, about European football, they should know what's eligible and what's not. So that just really shows that they don't care about football. They don't care about the fans. They don't care about the footballers having to put so much extra work into doing this. Because you look as a footballer, I know Dave obviously decided I want to be a footballer, but the thing is, they're getting, especially the Premier League now, because they don't have a break, they're playing every 3-4 days. Do you think that's not right in reality, especially knowing it's around Christmas time? Then when it gets to the World Cup, it's just going to get all messed up all over again. It's going to get even worse, and that's obviously down to FIFA.
No, I agree. I mean, to be honest, I just find it, what I find very interesting, and why, you know, I think the Chelsea thing is quite dodge, is that the group stage draw was drawn by ex-Chelsea players, you know, and then the who worked for Abramovich, and then this next same draw was drawn by Arshavin, who's Russian. So I'm just saying, I'm not doing conspiracy, but I'm just saying, is it possible not to have a draw that's done by people that either don't work for Chelsea or don't have some strong connection to Russia? That's all I'm saying, because it paints Roman Abramovich in a very sketchy way, in my personal opinion, when he gets a very good draw in the group stage, and he also gets probably the easiest draw in the I think people are getting paid. Jason Todd says, no need to worry, guaranteed CR7 hat-trick. We're going to preview the game.
I like it.
Gary
Jason's
Penny says,
optimistic.
Bark.tech? What's that? I don't understand what that means.
I think it's spam.
It must be spam. Okay, I'll delete that. I give United fans one thing: they can kick up a storm and go 0 to 100 real quick. Bro, it was unjust. It was unjust. That's all I'll say. Shout out to Shillen who's watching on Twitch. Thank you for watching on Twitch. Really appreciate it, brother. Score prediction versus Atletico Madrid. We will get to the Atletico Madrid preview. We're just breaking down the draw. Within a minute, I want to Mr. McMahon says Cristiano always knocks out Atleti. Factos. That's a hope. I'm assuming this is spam as well.
Yeah.
I don't get a lot of bots on chats. That's a compliment almost. Wed Wevel says EFC. No, Inter can't face Real Madrid because they were in the same group and can't play Juve because of the same in second. Oh, okay. So he's probably explaining why
Okay.
the Villarreal thing was the situation, because Inter couldn't face Real Madrid because they're in the same group and they can't play Juve because of the same league. So second time's uncorrect. So I think that's why they had to go with Villarreal. Okay, that makes sense. Arshavin poured an Arsenal. Arshavin poured a well. We won't speak about Arsenal because they're not really in this competition, are they? Really, they're not really a European powerhouse. So, but yeah, let's move on to actually just talking about lots of people saying United versus Atletico Madrid. Are you happy? Because I said actually that I would prefer PSG because I don't like Atletico Madrid. They're no disrespect to any Atleti fans, but they can be quite dirty. You know, they've been very. You know, if you look at the last game against Porto, they were able to get two of their Porto players sent off, and they had their players sent off an advantage. So, and we have a team that's very at times can be very immature, not level-headed, and can potentially get exposed. So, Atletico Madrid are nowhere near as good as PSG or Bayern or any of the teams, and I think we have a better team than Atleti, but they just seem to just have a way to make things happen. I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
I think Atletico Madrid has already had 2-3 red cards in their group stages alone. So that just shows the kind of football they play. But do not get me wrong in terms of Simeone. He does play real good football, and I do admire for what he has done for Atletico Madrid in terms of them winning La Liga. Hands up. Absolutely brilliant for doing that, because I've always seen it as a two-man league with Barcelona and Real Madrid, and they've obviously took that advantage last season and done that. I personally, in terms of all the teams that I could have picked for, I would have wanted Sporting. I wanted Sporting so they could do a Ronaldo and Bruno reunion at that club. That's what I really wanted, and I thought that'd be something I would like to see. But Atletico Madrid, at the end of the day, in terms of Champions League football, how I think it is based on luck. It's always about what is in front of you. I know you say that in terms of the Premier League, but it's always about what's in front of you. Because if you look at Bayern Munich, for instance, you look at Bayern Munich on their paper, wow, such a good team. No one could get past them. But then PSG did. And the reason why PSG did is because Bayern Munich had so many injuries. So that was just good luck for PSG to win that. So if, for example, Atletico Madrid comes in and they get another red card, or there'll be a couple of injuries like with Griezmann or Felix, something like that, then that's going to exactly ruin the threat for Atletico Madrid and gives that bit more of an advantage for Manchester United, to be honest. So I do think they play real good football and they are very clinical on the ball, but as you mentioned, they can be extremely dirty, and I've noticed that a lot more in this Champions League this year.
I mean, as someone I think said in the chat, and I'll just get the comment up. Yes, it was SMB2 says Atleti has the most red cards so far in the tournament. You know, they've got I can't remember who got the red cards in their previous game.
Griezmann had a red card. I know that one.
Yeah, Griezmann had it against Liverpool.
Yeah.
So the person who got the red card in the previous game, it was a straight red card. It wasn't 2 yellows. So they're going to be out for the I think for presumably for both fixtures against Manchester United. So it'll be a 3-game ban. Can someone remind me who got the red card? It was Carrasco. Yeah.
I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna have a look myself anyway, just see. Yeah, they've had overall 3 red cards in the Champions League so far this season. So that is pretty bad considering. They've had 11 yellow cards. So that's averaging out 1.84 games of getting a yellow card. And 3 red cards, which is averaging 0.5 average per match, they're getting a red card.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
And they don't wipe out the yellow cards until I think it's the quarterfinals, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
So in a way, you know, I'm not saying this is a thing. So yeah, SMS is Carrasco, Griezmann, and Felipe, and they've got So to be honest, it's funny because like if they're not careful, some of their players might actually end up not being able to be available for the second leg just for the simple fact they've got so many players on yellow cards. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just going to be interesting to see how we are as a team come February. I like to think by then the players will understand Ragnick's philosophy. I like to think by then there's a bit more stability in the team, and that you have a situation where when Varane and Ronaldo and Varane and Cavani come back, and who else is out? Varane, Cavani,
Pogba's out as well.
Pogba. Yeah. So when those players sort of come back, so then it makes a difference. Mr. Man with the super chat, thank you so much for the donation, channel buddy. Really, really appreciate it. That'll put us at an advantage, and we can obviously press Atletico. Because what I would say this, and I'll before I go to you, and let me know what you guys think in the comments, guys. Do you think who do you think is the favourites, United or Atletico Madrid? What I would say though is, and after this we'll have a brief conversation about some of the other ties as well. So we won't just talk about this, but I think that the lack of the away goal benefits us.
Yeah.
Because Atletico Madrid they'd always if they nick their goal, their away goal or whatever, as they would do, they'd sit back, defend. I think now that there's no away goals, like they can't really play like that. So even if they score against us, Atletico Madrid are a side that they don't go out and get the next goal. You know what I mean? It's almost like I'm not afraid of us conceding against them first, because I know they're not going to be like, right, let's get a second, let's get a third, let's get a fourth. They're going to be like, yeah, we're just going to drop back now for the rest of the game.
Yeah, then, I agree.
You know what I mean? Whereas PSG obviously are a different kettle. If they scored first, they're like, right, we sense blood. We're going to go again. Go again.
And at Atletico, there isn't as many standout players or names than there is at PSG. But the thing is with PSG compared to Atletico Madrid, I feel like they play as 11 individuals on the pitch at the moment on the Poch system. In terms of what you was mentioning about Manchester United, I think it does roughly take around a month for the team to get used to Ralph's kind of tactics. If the 4-2-2 does work for Manchester United, so far we've had 2 clean sheets out of 3, so that's always a bonus where we wasn't even getting clean sheets before Ralph did come in. So that is always going to be seen as a positive, and it's going to get a lot more better knowing that he isn't rushing back players like Varane, because we know how much Varane does impact the team, how well he is. And the fact that Ralph has even come out and said in an interview that he has noticed Varane's injury record in the past, and he is going to do his best to try and work with Varane and to work in times as he's training to try and make sure he's not sustaining any other injuries for the rest of the season. And you don't hear anything like that in the past in terms of manager. You just hear, oh, right, Varane's back next week. And I don't think he'll rush into at least the Brighton game if the Brighton game still goes ahead, just due to the fact with Brentford, the midfield is a lot more open for me and they haven't got that threat. So that does help us in terms of defensive. Cavani is another player, and I think he's such a pressing player. Him and Fred are the best pressers at Manchester United. And I think if you do press on this Atletico Madrid team, I think they will start to get aggressive. And once they start to get aggressive, they'll pick up yellows, they'll pick up reds, they'll pick up suspensions. And then that'll just start that being an advantage for Manchester United then. So I actually think, I agree with SSB here. I do think that Ralph's tactics is not gonna benefit Simeone at all. No.
I agree. Let's have a quick look at some of the rest of these comments. If you are clinical against Atletico, you will win. They are not as good as you. And I agree. Yes. And I think that the advantage I think United certainly have is that when our forwards on form, we have better finishers. I'm sorry, Suarez is gone. So Cavani, Ronaldo, Greenwood, maybe not Rashford right now, but certainly those 3 all have better form then Atletico's front three. So as I agree, if our forwards don't do a Norwich and a clinical, then yes, I think Atletico Madrid will be. And I also think it'll be good going into the because I know that UEFA will screw over United. I know we're going to get like Bayern Munich in the next round. We will, because even against Oli, to be fair, I know people don't to see that Oli just be sacked, but like we did get very bad draws in all these competitions. We never got easy ties domestically, never got easy ties in the Champions League. We beat PSG somehow and then end up getting drawn against Barcelona, whereas City, get people from Sweden, so there is an element of luck in that respect. I can't remember the last time Atletico got a convincing win against a big club. They didn't. Yeah, they didn't beat Liverpool in the group stages, did they? I think it was a draw with one of the games.
Liverpool actually had a full win percentage. They 100% won their games in the group stages. The last time I actually seen Atletico Madrid do well against a big team was when they knocked out Liverpool a couple of years ago in the Champions League. And that's the last time I've seen them actually do well against a big team. Because last season they got knocked out by Chelsea as well. And I was looking at the Manchester United record just then against Atletico Madrid, and their record is pretty poor against us. They haven't won against us in such a long time.
Right. Okay. Well, when was the last time we played Atletico Madrid? If you don't mind, do you have that information, Maisie?
The only ones I can't really see that many. So let me just have a see what I can find. See the last time we actually played against them. So it actually says here the last time we played against them was 1991 on here. So I don't know how correct that is, but it says the last time we played against them was 1991 and it was a draw. But before that, we won against them 3-0.
Fine.
And that was in the Cup Winner Cup.
Yes, I see. Yeah, Nickelbring says they beat us back in 1994 3-0 in the UEFA in the Cup, I think. Okay, no, fair enough. But yeah, you're right. At the end of the day, like, I still think for form we should beat Atletico Madrid, and I like to think that hopefully we get a decent tie. And let's, before we move on to discuss the Brentford game, which looks like it's going to be called off, just looking at some of the other ties, and I'll see. Let me see. You know what? I'll get the other ties up. 1 second. What do you think? What do you think about the other ties?
I was actually looking at the ties, and I was thinking, I bet Atletico Madrid was very happy because they had Bayern Munich at the beginning. So I bet they're a bit happy at least. But I was actually looking at some of the ties, and I thought, yeah, Man City typical against Sporting, one of the easier ones.
City. When was the last time City got a difficult draw in the round of 16?
I actually don't remember. It's been such a long time, to be honest, hasn't it, since they actually have had a decent team. And Salzburg, they've got Bayern Munich now, and that's going to be a tough test for Salzburg. Inter Milan with Liverpool, and from what I was hearing with some Liverpool fans, they're not happy with the draw. They actually are quite worried. For me, I just feel like with Liverpool, if they don't sustain any injuries, they've got a fighting chance of winning against Inter Milan. Because if you look at Liverpool's starting 11, it is a very good starting 11. But if, for example, they pick a couple of injuries in the defence, that means Jordan Henderson or Fabinho has to go as a centre-back again. And then you've got the African Nations Cup where Mo Salah and Mane is away, and then they've got to come back and self-isolate, which can potentially affect them being in the Champions League again. We just have to see on how that goes on, but I think that could be a little bit of a test for them because they've still got a couple of good players there in Inter Milan, even though they have lost upon Lukaku. Martinez is still doing very well for Inter Milan.
There's that just images to help with the I mean, I think obviously the big one is clearly Madrid versus PSG. Obviously, I'm sure I will make the case that I'll make the case. I'm gonna get 2 questions in a second, guys, in the comments. But I make the case that PSG would have preferred playing Manchester United than Real Madrid. Obviously, I think there are a lot of narratives here as well. because Mbappe could potentially be signing a pre-agreement contract with Real Madrid in January. So how does that work? Is that not a conflict of interest that you're playing for a team currently? You've agreed, with you agree to play for your opposition in the summer. You know what I mean? And then of course, obviously Sergio Ramos, who was there, who was captain, he's going to be fit. He's going to be available. He has a point to prove. Messi coming back to the Bernabeu, he's got something to say.
Ramos hasn't really made any appearances for PSG. I think he's only started 2-3 times for PSG. I think he's had a couple of injuries and then he hasn't been starting. Then there was rumours as well that he was wanting to terminate his contract full stop at PSG. So I don't think he's on good terms right now with PSG. So it's going to be interesting with how that game's going to be. I think Atletico Madrid and PSG are two standout games for me. And another standout game in particular for me, I think it's going to be Benfica versus Ajax. That's another one what I'm really looking forward to because I've looked at Ajax. You look at the team from 2019, they've got De Jong, they've got Donny van de Beek, Ziyech there as well. They've lost 4 or 5 players from that one where they was in the 2019 semi-final. And they obviously lost to Spurs. They lost 4 or 5 of their starting 11 players. And what I really admire about Ten Hag and his team, Van der Sar, who's also in the board, is that the fact that they have rebuilt this team. It feels like, in a way, they've rebuilt the team from scratch because they've lost so many players. And the team literally looks like it's stronger than what it was in 2019. And for me, I think it's going to be a very difficult test for coming up against Ajax because I think they're not here to mess around with neither. And I actually would think that they'd get at least to the semi-finals, maybe even the finals.
Fair enough. I don't disagree. And I mean, this goes to show you Ajax's system and academy and why, we might be being, linked with likes of Ten Hag and some of their management is because of what you literally just said. Is that they had all their players gone, yet they were still able to make, and construct a good team that's competitive and like quite frankly easily bypass their group. I actually think would have struggled in their group. Whereas they just absolutely destroyed them. Right. Let's quickly get into some comments again as well. Atletico is a generic team that United have struggled since Sir Sven got sacked. Inability to break down a team that sits back. We can win, but it won't be. Of course it won't. Of course it won't. But I do think that the removal of the away goal helps. Oh yes, don't click. Yes, I realized that. Thank you, SMB. So Crisco is on the red, so he won't be there for the first leg. Yeah, shout out to Rich Sports as well, by the way.
Hey, Rich.
Make sure you head over to Rich Sports' channel, subscribe, and support a man who's doing a lot of good work over there. And I'm sometimes on as well.
Yeah, me too. I'm on Rich Sports a bit as well.
EFC says, nah, PSG would slap us. Getting Atletico is better than getting PSG. That's EFC. That's fair enough. So look, SMB says, Atletico will try to drag you down to level with the energy. If you can maintain the energy at a high level and be clinical, you can win. Yes, as you said. Ralph Tax all wrong for Simeone. Tio Jacob says, big up where everyone laid it on the panel. Smash likes and subscribe both in the chat. Thank you so much, Tio. Yes, if you're watching, guys, to keep the engagement and the algorithm, make sure that you like. It helps to sort of it helps with the algorithm. It's all about the algorithm. If you can like the vid and also comment as soon as the video is finished on the video channel, it helps to spread the video, help the channel out and go against the algorithm. Mr. T's, they got Madrid in 2020. Who was that?
In 2020.
Oh, City. Yes. Oh, I think it's talking about they got in the round. Yes, they did, didn't they? In the round of 16.
I actually don't remember that.
They got, yes, I remember now. It was under Zidane. They got Madrid but that when Madrid weren't particularly great, when they'd sacked Lopetegui, and I think they brought back Zidane midway through the season.
Yes, now we remember. Yeah.
That was the season where I think they got knocked out by Lyon.
Yes, they did get knocked out.
That was the COVID year. They got knocked out by Lyon and Bayern ended up winning it. Yeah. Yeah, Bolton says City versus Real Madrid in 2020. Yeah. COVID situation. Do you guys think that Inter could nick a win from the Scouse, Maisie?
It's going to be a tough one, if you want me to be honest. I think if Inter can actually do this against Liverpool, then I think Liverpool is going to have a couple of injuries beforehand. Because if they have Mo Salah in their team, if they still have Virgil van Dijk in their team and Trent Alexander-Arnold in the form they're in, they've got no chance. That's my hands down honest opinion. I just don't think they've got any chance. And you always say that the Champions League is always based on luck. So you just never know. You can never write off any team in the Champions League because people wrote off the likes of like Sporting already. They wrote off Sharif 1-2-1 against Real Madrid, and they still managed to get into the Europa League. People wrote off Zenit, and they was the ones who got into the Europa League as well. So that just shows really you can never write off a team at the end of the day. So it's always about how both the teams do turn up.
Yep. No, I agree. Tia Jake says one of the best female panelists I've heard.
Thank you.
And also I put the link for those who are watching. I put Maisie's link to a channel called Devils United. It's in the description. I'll actually even post it in the chat as well. If you head over to her channel and subscribe, she posts a lot of good content on there and support her as well. So support her. So I've just put that in. That's in the chat as well. So yeah, head over there and make sure that you subscribe and like her videos as well. She's very knowledgeable, as a lot of people, as we said, and posts a lot of very good content. What's funny is that Real Madrid didn't want to... Yeah, they did. That is true. I think they were the only club that was like, Perez, like, we don't want to redraw. Don't redraw, you know. So it's like, yeah, sorry, that's not gonna happen, bro. It's not gonna happen. Let's keep it real. Ramos is definitely going to be fit for the Real Madrid game. He will be.
He will be fit. It's just a matter if Poch is going to play him or not, just because he hasn't, as much as he's fit, Poch is still not giving him the game time he deserves. Because as a centre-back as Ramos, I've loved Ramos for as long as I can remember. I remember in the 2013 season, I was like, please, can we get Ramos? Can we get Ramos? And people were like, no, Ramos won't be suited to Manchester United. He gets too many red cards. And imagine if he comes to Premier League and all that. I was like, but Ramos is so good. But when you look at it now, we've got Harry Maguire. He obviously wouldn't suit being alongside Harry Maguire, of course. Ramos, for me, I don't know what Poch is doing, not playing him, not giving him the game time, because he's either on the bench or he plays like the odd couple of games. He's just not played at all, and I really would like to know what is truly going on in terms of that, to be honest. And especially when you've heard rumours that Ramos is wanting to terminate his contract a couple of months ago, so there's clearly something going on behind the closed doors.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like I said, I think I suspect whatever, for Ramos's pride, he's going to be fit against Real Madrid. But whether or not like that will be enough to overcome Real Madrid, definitely remains to be seen. Red Devil Weekly is also United channel. Make sure you head over to Kieran's channel to show him some support. UEFA have been getting away with dodgy draws for years. Just that now they've been caught red-handed by Atletico will be a big test, and I agree with that. Atletico, is equal. That is true. Juventus in years gone by would have said that Juventus are the favourites here, but then they got knocked out in the round of 16 last season with Ronaldo against Porto. Villarreal, aren't as good as Porto. It's a close one. It's not as I don't think. Go on, Maisie.
You've got to give Emery credit though for what he has done at Villarreal, because Villarreal, when you do look at it, if they was in the Premier League, they'd probably be a mid-table team, maybe 10th or 11th if you do look at them if they went in the Premier League. But you can never knock for what Emery's done, because Emery got sacked from Arsenal after a poor form at the start of the season, and he got them to the first Europa League final against Chelsea. Even though they've lost, it's still such an achievement for Arsenal, knowing that they've never won a European trophy. So they've sacked him, brought in Arteta, of course, but he's come to Villarreal. He's won Villarreal their first ever European trophy.
True. Yeah.
With Europa League. He's obviously got them into the Super Cup, which is unfortunate didn't win, but they did get to that the penalties, so it was good that they put on that good fight as well. And then of course he brought them as well to their first knockout football since 28/29 season. And you know what, I've got to give a lot of credit to Unai Emery for that. As much as I love to laugh about Unai Emery about what it like the good evening thing. I do laugh about that, but you've got to give credit for him, because I actually think after what he has done, he's an underrated manager and he is well suited to the Villarreal job. So I think he's making Villarreal a better team than what I have seen in the past.
Maisie, you need to convert your channel into just a general football channel. I think you've got so much knowledge that, like, I think that if you just narrow yourself to just United, you're going to lose out on a much bigger audience when people that need to sort of really like listen and take your your opinion seriously. Because I agree with you, and to be honest, you know, to throw spanners in the work, I do think that Arsenal were wrong to sack Unai Emery, and stick with this brick of a manager called Arteta, who doesn't really know what he's doing right now. I'm still confident we can beat PSG, and I'm just agree with that. Luca's live, shout out to Luca's live, and
hey Luca,
fan, love you, bro. Make sure you head over to his channel as well. Hala Madrid, I'm assuming Madrid says we can take PSG without Verratti. Their midfield is dead, but he's going to be available, isn't he, by February? I'd imagine he will be.
He's quite injury prone though, Verratti. He gets injured quite a bit, so if they're wanting to keep Verratti safe for both the legs, they're going to have to be extremely careful, because I think at the moment the first place in League One Uber Eats. So I'd just say the name Uber Eats just because it's pretty funny hearing it. But I think if they give him that little bit of a rest, because we all know PSG wants that Champions League, so give him a little bit of a rest knowing they're in first place in the League One. There isn't that much competition there neither, and Lille isn't exactly doing well in the league at the moment, so they can afford, if they do pretty well up till when this starts, give him a rest so they can concentrate on the Champions League, give Verratti that bit of a rest, and then if that's the case, put Herrera in for the league. You're muted.
I agree. What was the part of this? It says Hakimi will be assisted by Vinny and Mendy on the left. Courtois is solid, and Album and Tupanch. So, like, I think, bro, it's gonna be a close game, I think. But as a long road to February, and a lot of stuff can get changed. Form can change. Players can get injured. You know, so there's a lot of stuff that can happen. But you know, it will just go show for PSG that PSG get knocked out again in the round of 16. You know. What can you say? You know, so like, will PSG ever win the Champions League? Will they be able to? You know, who knows? Messi was brought in to win the Champions League, and Messi's got to deliver. You know, otherwise they're just winning League on. Yay! You know.
My question is though, how much time can they really give Poch? As much as Poch won a trophy 16 days in, you wouldn't exactly call it Poch's trophy. You call it Tuchel's trophy because it's Tuchel's team. And then the second trophy, they won another trophy, fair enough, but it's a cup trophy. They bottled the league for the first time in quite a while. I think it was like 5, maybe 6 years. That was the first time they bottled the league, and it's by 1 point on the last game of the season. If Lille didn't win that, they would have won the league. But you can't rely on somebody losing so you could win the league on the last day. The team they already had at that point, they should have done a lot better. And Tuchel have been sacked for something much less than what Poch has already done.
Yeah, agreed.
But they've backed Poch so much with all the signings they've got. They've allowed him to as well have a new season, which personally I wouldn't have done, because I know people are like, oh, they've won so many leagues, but that is still an extra trophy in your cabinet. So as much as people say, yeah, it's a real rubbish league and stuff like, you look at that and think, well, we're still the champions, but they can't say we're the champions anymore. I know they want to concentrate on the Champions League, but for me, is Poch capable of winning the Champions League trophy? Yeah, fair enough. He got Spurs to the Champions League final, which is an absolute brilliant achievement with the squad they've got. But he's a yes man, And I just don't think he can handle the egos at PSG neither. From what I heard as well, the win percentage so far in the Champions League is 36%. If they've got that just in the group stages, how are they going to cope playing Real Madrid? And then if they get through even further, how are they going to cope with if they get the likes of Bayern Munich, if they get the likes of Ajax, if they get the likes of Liverpool, even Manchester City again? Do you think they're gonna? I don't think they'll be able to cope.
It's I mean, I'll say it out right now. Like, you know, I don't think PSG will win the Champions League. I think the last season was their I think the season when Tuchel got to the final was their best chance. I don't think that all the teams, Liverpool are stronger, Bayern are stronger, City are stronger. Even United to a certain extent are in quote stronger. A lot of teams are stronger now, and in theory, PSG are also stronger. But as you said, I just think that with Pochettino and his involvement, I think Pochettino might be the Achilles heel. If it was Zidane, maybe we'd be having a different conversation. But it is what it is. And also says, go on, Maisie, says Luca's life. Hey, Homer says only Mbappe and Di Maria will be an issue, which is fair. Big up interesting games says makes me want to FIFA preview so again. And the thing is, and actually, just ask the chat, is that something? Because I used to do that on my channel quite a bit, where I would FIFA simulate games for United and for the CL. If that's something that you'd like to see on this channel, then please let me know. And I would. But the important thing about those things is that you've got to make sure that you like the vid and comment on it, because if you don't do that, YouTube will YouTube basically messes up with the algorithm basically. Gus says, Red Devil, you're more welcome to come on channel. Send me a link anytime, bro. IMAX thumbs up. Thank you very much. Big up, great show. Just finished work and also watching it too. Thanks, Luca Life. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm usually at work at 12:30 UK time, but any time in the evening is grand. IMAX is a City fan, says, come on, Manchester City. And also says, can I sign her? She knows her stuff. Yes, IMAX is the YouTube channel, so please check him out as well. So yes, like if you want to get in contact, a message, I can pass on the details if and sort that out. Hala Madrid says Emery is a cup tournament manager. His pedigree is ridiculous with both Sevilla and Villarreal, and that is true. Nika Brink says, do you guys think the United game is going to... So that's a great transition, actually. And so does what happened to the United games. Let's actually transition, because we spoke about the CL for almost 43 minutes in the draw. Let's actually talk about the Brentford versus United game and whether it's going to be called off or not. So what's going on, Maisie? It looks like there's a I don't want to use the virus word. It looks like there's a viral epidemic at Manchester United right now, and that's causing that's causing us problems, a lot of problems. I think there's a very big suspicion that I think this game is going to be cancelled, and I think, and which is fair, because that Spurs game obviously got cancelled as well. I think the big thing for me is that it's not going to just be this game. Brighton is going to be cancelled as well, possibly the following fixture, but at the very least 2 of those fixtures. And then you're thinking, where are we going to play these games? On top of the Champions League. And do we have the squad depth? And it's, are we getting into a situation where we need to start to think, okay, we might have to go back to, lockdown COVID protocol type thing regarding the Premier League, i.e. the sort of the bubble system that they had. What are your thoughts? What do you think is going to happen?
I know that Leicester recently had an outbreak with coronavirus. They had 7 of their players and staff positive for COVID, and they still went ahead with their first team. So there's still that chance that they can still not go ahead, still can go ahead. In terms of itself, I just think I'm not too sure if it's going to get called off or not, because I feel like if it was going to get called off, would it have been happened by now? Especially with all this floating around already. And for me, in my personal opinion, just due to the fact we've got the FA Cup in January, we've still got the Champions League, and then don't forget, they're not going to have as much. Say, for example, Manchester United went to the Champions League final, they went to the FA Cup final. Obviously, hands up, I'm being a bit optimistic here, like a casual Man United fan does, but you like to be optimistic. But if that was the case, we'd be playing a hell of a lot of the games. And then that's not including the minimum two games what could potentially get postponed. Where we're going to play them, there's going to be some kind of rotation there. Because if you look at last season, we had postponed games, and I think we played up for like 4 games in the matter of like 10 days, and that's just absolutely ridiculous. We can't do that again. And the squad in like the Premier League in general, they're going to be having a shorter break when the season ends because of the World Cup being in December. So we can't afford these postponed games. I do think at this moment in time, the bubbles are a good idea. Maybe perhaps as well having closed doors just so it keeps the fans safe. But what I did notice last season as well, Aston Villa had a COVID outbreak, and for their FA Cup game against Liverpool, they played their youth players.
Yeah.
So why couldn't the teams who have got these COVID outbreaks, why can't they play their youth players? Because I know it's obviously Man United what's happened to, but it's not fair on the players. It's not fair on the opposition team.
Wait, hold up. I'm trying to think. Was that an outbreak when they? I thought the reason why, correct me from the Liverpool Villa game they played the youth was not. It wasn't an outbreak. It was because they clashed with the. They were playing the Club World Cup, so I
thought it was an outbreak. No, it was Aston Villa who played the youth, not Liverpool.
Oh, sorry. Yes. I'm thinking of something else. You're right. Sorry. Yes.
Yes. So because they had an outbreak, Aston Villa, and a lot of their first team players did get caught COVID.
Yes.
I just think at the end of the day, it's not fair on the players to having to jam a load of games all in one. It's not fair on the opposition team to have to rampack some team games. I know Brentford, they're not got no European games, but they're still in the Carabao Cup. They're still in the FA Cup, so they're still going to have a rampack game at some point. And that's not going to be fair for a newly promoted Brentford to have a rampacked amount of games, even though they're probably used to it a little bit more just because the Championship was very intense and they had a lot more games in their Championship. They was playing roughly around twice a week in general anyway. But I just think if, for example, a team does have that high COVID cases, I think at the end of the day, you should be playing the youth team. I know a lot of people disagree with me on that, but I just think we can't afford to have too many postponed games. Spurs have already had 3 postponed games already. I know Burnley was due to the weather, but they've got the Europa Conference League postponed. I don't think they're bothered about that anyway. But they've got the last game what was postponed as well. So why not them play their youth? Because it's not fair for them to have 3 postponed games. I think if they're gonna have a postponed game, play the youth, because that's what my opinion is.
No. I don't, because I think ultimately at the end of the day, it's going to be too much for the players.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of players with a lot of people saying, with the heart issue and stuff like that it might be other things. But I personally think it's just simple as the fact that the players are playing too many games, because you're right. They're basically going to be playing non-stop, no Christmas break. They'll have maybe a month off during the summer, and then they're back doing it again, and then into the World Cup, and there's no break. And rather than rescheduling these things, as you said, get some academy players in. Get some academy players. If you have an outbreak, instead of that's why you have a squad. If you can field at least 15. You have 11, fielding 11, and then you have at least like 5 or 6 substitutes. If you can field that, a 16-man squad, that's fine. If you have to get players from the reserves, or you have to upgrade players from the academy, then so be it. Unless like there's an outbreak where like literally like you can't legitimately field a team, because of the outbreak so bad, then yeah, I agree with you.
And what I was about to suggest as well, and I follow both men and women's football, and with the men's, they've got a lot more levels than women's in the youth academy compared to the women's football, because the women's football's the under 21s and the first team, whereas the men's do have under 23s, under 21s, under 18s, blah, 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 blah. But I think in the under 23s, they should concentrate more on how first team football is played rather than playing at their own kind of play. Just because when you do get into the first team, a lot of the academy players do think, oh, why, this is a bit too much. And they kind of look a little bit, not rusty, but they don't seem like they're in that kind of tactics what the other players around them are like. And I think I think especially at under 23 level, they should have at least once a month with the first team manager, so they could be like, this is how I want you to play football if you got promoted into Manchester United or if you got promoted to Manchester City, and then they build off that and they try to play how their first team plays, and then that helps and secures the first team for if this COVID outbreak does happen, or if we have to rely on a youth player for injuries, etc.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that it's difficult because obviously there's so much money involved in football and there's so much emphasis on winning games, which makes it problematic. But for times like these, you need it, and you need the under 23 players, for them to sort of step up and into these positions, and you never know. Sometimes they might make a difference, But let's just say the scene before we obviously get onto the actual ranking, which we're probably going to have to spend less time on because we spent a lot of time. Usually we should be done by 10. Actually, it was an hour. So we'll just quickly if this game does if this game does obviously go ahead, what do you think that the and I'll be trying to clip these separately to kind of put it as a review. But what do you think? How do you think that? Who do you think Ragnick will pick? How do you think that? Well, yeah. So 3 questions. Who do you think what do you think the team will be? How do you think that we will play? And then what's your score prediction?
Okay, so say for example, all the first team who are normally in the starting 11 are fit. What I would personally think he will do, I think he'll go with that 4-2-2 formation, just so the players do start getting used to that formation. Because I know it roughly does take around a month to digest, so you need to stick at that. So I think he's going to go with De Gea in goal, Tellez on the left, and I think he's going to go for Maguire. And if Lindelof is no longer fit, just because obviously with the issues what happened with Lindelof on the pitch last game, I do pray he's okay. If he's not fit, I think it's going to be Eric Bayer. And then on the right, it will be Dalot, because I think both Tellez and Dalot do deserve their starting 11 show. I think McTominay and Fred are going to be on the first 2. I actually was very impressed with McFred with the last game against Norwich, and Fred has improved so much. And normally I'm quite critical about McTominay, and I think McTominay, that was one of the best McTominay games this season I have seen against Norwich. I was extremely impressed with McTominay. He was going forward when it was needed to. He was defending when it needed to be as well, and he wasn't doing that.
Do you think that's because that's his level, Maisie? That Norwich is his level at that position, so that's why he was good, because he's playing at his level as opposed
what
to.
What about Leeds?
Yeah, but the thing is, against Leeds though, he wasn't even playing as in that position. It was more like a box to box going forward.
I know.
McTominay
or Zidane? That's the question when he plays against Leeds.
No, I never want those two names in the same sentence. Zidane, McTominay, it's just almost like completely different worlds.
I know.
But sorry, go on.
I think Bruno Fernandes will have a rest, so I think Donny van de Beek will start, and I think Donny will be suited to Brentford's midfield, just due to the fact Brentford's midfield is so open. And I think alongside it will be Jadon Sancho. On up front, it will be Ronaldo, and I think it will be Greenwood. I think he'll give Rashford a rest. And in terms of my score prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-1. I don't think Brentford have got a couple of injuries at the moment, and them injuries what they've got, they are a threat to Manchester United. Raya, their first choice goalkeeper. Raya makes, if for example you're Chelsea and you've got Mendy your team, and then it's like getting Mendy and then putting Willie on the following week. That's how much of a downgrade it is. Or it's like Manchester United playing De Gea and then we're playing Lee Grant next week. That's how much of a downfall it is in terms of Brentford and the goalkeepers. But Ivan Toney's out due to an illness, and I think he's a massive threat as well. And I think with their midfield being so open, it allows a lot more freedom for Manchester United too. And I don't think as much defending will happen. If you look at that Watford game, the first half there was extremely poor, and they was very lucky with that penalty because Watford there was no need for the penalty decision what they did. So so I think it's going to be a tough test for Brentford, and I think it's going to be a 2-1 for Manchester United because I can still see Mbumo, who's still a threat for Manchester United, and I still believe that he probably will score because he is a massive threat. He is a right wing. He played as a right wing for the Championship, and he was thrashing it as a right wing. And then what Thomas Frank has done, he has put him on the a two at the front with Ivan Toney, and it's like you've adapted this man from a wing to a striker, and it's such a clever move because he seems a lot more stronger in that position. He's got Ivan Toney, who's a natural goal scorer, alongside him to support him that a little bit too, and I think that has helped him massively as well.
Fair. And you said predictions wise, you think it's going to be 2-1 to United?
Yes, I do.
Okay, who's to score?
I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with a Jadon Sancho ball. Jadon Sancho with Cristiano Ronaldo, and I'm gonna go for Mbumo to score for Brentford.
Cool. Okay, and I think I don't think we're going to keep a clean sheet either. I think it's gonna be difficult, but I think that unlike Norwich, who were quite defensively solid, I think Brentford's big thing was that they're quick and they can potentially catch on the break if we're not careful, especially if we press high. But I don't think that they're defensively as good, or they will be defensively as good as Norwich were. So yeah, I think I'll agree with you. I'll go with 2-1 actually. Except that I will probably go with Ronaldo to score a brace. I'll say Ronaldo to score a brace. Right. We're approaching our mark. Let's just finish up with actually the ranking, which is the main reason why we do these shows, which is top 10 United players weekly. So we're actually supposed to be doing the ranking, but there's been so much that's happened today that we had to cover it all. And thank you again so much, Maisie, for going through this with me and talking with us. It's been great, and I will clip the video of our pre-Brentford preview and upload it separately for those who just want to have watch the preview separately. Before we get into it, I think the SMB said, do you guys think some sort of break might happen again, like a bit of no football? If this happens to 6 or 7 teams with the virus, I'd imagine they take a break.
I think if they do take a break, it will be like 10 to a 14-day break. I can't imagine them at all going for any of a bigger break. I don't think it's going to happen in terms of politics because they probably just want to get on to a day-to-day life. So if there is going to be a break, it'll be down to football, and I think it'll be 10 to 14 days so people can self-isolate, etc. if needs be.
Fair. So top 10 United players weekly. We're back. And for those who weren't watching, this was the top 10 from last week. So we had Marcus Rashford at 10, Scott McTominay at 9, Bruno at 8, Dallo at 7th, Telles at 6th, Lindelof at 5th, De Gea at 4th, Sancho at 3rd, Ronaldo second, and Fred at 1st. Now, as I explained in the first episode, like it's a progressive top 10. So just because you haven't had a great game this week doesn't mean you automatically drop out of the top 10. We can move obviously players, so some players that weren't great this week might get moved up or down in the top 10, and some players that aren't in the top 10 can obviously be moved in. So let's actually get straight into it, because the two games that we're obviously going to be focusing on are Young Boys and Norwich. It's just those two, and a lot of these players didn't actually play against Young Boys. I think the only player to play against Young Boys was
None of them.
No, didn't Tellez play?
No, Tellez didn't play for Young Boys. It was Luke Shaw who was on the left, and then he got subbed off after an hour.
And it was
and Mengi came on as a substitute.
Yeah, I think you're right. None of these guys played against Young Boys.
Yeah, none of them at all.
None of them played. So I guess the question is, do you think that there was anyone that played well in that Young Boys game that you think could displace? Because I'm looking at Rashford quite funny right now. I really am looking at Rashford quite funny because, yes, he didn't play against Young Boys, but he was awful again against Norwich. And I'm just wondering if there's anyone in here that you think, had a part of me is almost like just put Eric Bailly in here because Eric Bailly.
I'd put Greenwood in.
Greenwood?
Yeah.
Well, I'm surprised Greenwood is in the top 10. Wow.
I would personally take Rashford out and put Greenwood in because Greenwood scored against Young Boys and he came on and he made a difference for me when he did play against Norwich.
So do you think that Greenwood? So do you think that Greenwood should be at number 10, or do you think that he did enough this week to maybe go a bit further? For example, above Scott McTominay, above Bruno.
I definitely believe he should be higher than Bruno. I just felt like Bruno has been poor this week.
Scott did. In fact, you know what? I think you do this. So far, it will change. These things are flexible, so it will change. But yeah, I think that you probably. I mean, for me, I think that you also need to get Eric Bailly in here.
Yeah, Eric Bailly played extremely well. He was doing a bit of just dance on the pitch against Young Boys as well. Things you love to see.
that Booker T move where he just flicks around and stuff. And I mean, to be honest, I might get Bruno out of here. Because,
that's a good shout.
Because he was low before, and it wasn't really based on performance. And again, against Norwich, much like Rashford, he was bad, and he's not been great for some time. You know what? Yeah. Eric, you come in here. Bruno, you're out of the top 10. I'm sorry.
My heart's breaking.
And I normally wouldn't just take players out completely. But when they've just had like a really... When they're on the low end and they've had another really bad performance, it's easy, But I think Scott McTominay, though, staying at number 9, I think, although Eric had a great game, I think Scott McTominay. I mean, I don't know. Do you think that Scott McTominay, based on what he did against Norwich, should be further up?
When you do look at that, there is a couple of players who do deserve to be up, and I think probably. He does deserve to be up, but then I think what players should go down. Maybe Lindelof might go down because I just feel like I know stuff happened to Lindelof in that game, but he still seemed very weak on his one-on-ones against Puka, which I wasn't entirely impressed with anyway. So I would personally maybe take Lindelof down and maybe put. Probably personally put. Scott McTominay a bit higher up and then Lindelof a bit down.
Do you think that Matic did enough to come into the top 10?
It's an hard one, and the answer to that probably no. And the reason for that is he was in that involvement for that goal being conceded by Young Boys.
True. And
he did have some moments for me where he was passing and his clearances wasn't exactly the best in my eyes.
No, I don't disagree. So I'm just going to change to that. Yes. So basically we're in agreement that there's probably not even Lingard. I mean, Lingard was ass against Young Boys. I mean, so there's
that's a nice word.
Yeah, I mean, he wants to leave, and that's fair.
He played like he wants to leave.
And I don't think Luke Shaw or Wan-Bissaka did enough in that game either to consider. So I think that the players in the 10 that we have right now are going to be there. Obviously, you've got the new additions of Greenwood and Eric Bailly into the top 10. As far as Lindelof, I think so. Lindelof can come down, but if he's going to go down and someone's going to go up, so you said McTominay should go a bit further up. So by that, do you mean McTominay should go? So if you think McTominay should go up, do you think McTominay's had a better performance than these players this week?
I think he had a better game.
And over the last 2 weeks.
I think he had a better game than Dalot, from what I've seen.
Okay.
I actually think McTominay was actually one of our best outfield players against Norwich. So for me, I will probably put Greenwood at 9th and then drop Dalot down and put McTominay where Dalot is.
Yes, I agree. So McTominay goes up from 9th to 7th.
And then I would change Telles and Lindelof around as well, because I was very impressed with Telles.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think Lindelof has done enough to go further out. I didn't have a great, as you said, it was okay against Norwich, but it wasn't great. But yeah, Telles is, and the thing about Telles and even Dalot to some extent, right, is that like I always knew that when they actually were given a successive run of games, that they were going to come good. And it seems that Ragnick has decided to alternate his fullbacks and potentially even drop Wan-Bissaka and Shaw, because, and this is what's so sad, is that like Ragnick clearly is picking the team that he inherited, i.e. this team inherited from Carrick. So if, let's say, Maguire or Lindelof had been out of that team and Bayer was in, I have no doubt that he'd be picking Bayer regularly. You know what I mean? But had he, for example, inherited the team when Luke Shaw and Wan-Bissaka were there, then probably Luke Shaw and Wan-Bissaka would have been playing. You know what I mean? You know, so it seems that Wan-Bissaka and Shaw are now the backups potentially.
I do believe they should be backups though as well. I just don't feel like they've done enough for me to be a starting 11 player, whereas Telles and Dalot have shown that they can be a starting 11 player, and they've proved that to me. I think there's more chance of Wan-Bissaka getting back than Telles. The Telles has not done a step wrong for me, and with Telles as well, he's actually improved. Everyone says that Telles can't defend, but Telles had the most tackles against Norwich in the back four, so he clearly can defend. And I think if he continues the form he is, and he does get a couple of goals under his belt and a couple of assists, he can be a contender for one of the best left backs in the league.
I don't disagree. And long way to, and hopefully Ragnick can improve him going forward. His delivery, I think, is definitely on par with Shaw, if not better. You know, so we need that competition, and Luke Shaw needs to compete, and Wan-Bissaka needs to compete. So okay, so I think we've got. So I think we agree with this. Then De Gea, to be honest, to me,
I got put him as number one.
I think that these guys. I think you're now going to put De Gea here now. I think Fred probably.
I'd probably put him on 3rd, and then I would put Sancho down 1.
I think Ronaldo has to probably go down as well.
Yeah.
I would put 2nd, maybe. I mean, he did score the penalty against Norwich. I mean, he didn't have a good game. We did get the goal. So did Sancho or Fred have a better game than Ronaldo did against Norwich? That's the question.
I think Fred may have potentially had a better game than Ronaldo, to be honest.
So I think if we do that, how about that?
That does look good to me. No complaints from me.
So we have a situation where Fred has obviously dropped down from 1st to 2nd, Ronaldo from 2nd to 3rd, Sancho from 3rd to 4th, but it's De Gea that's the biggest leap. He's gone from 4th to 1st, and I don't think I disagree, because De Gea basically saved us multiple times against Norwich. And although his distribution has not been great, and I know that Ragnick wants him to be. Ragnick, I think, wants a sweeper keeper and a goalkeeper with better distribution. And I think that you're not going to be able to coach that in De Gea. But De Gea is an awesome shot stopper. And so I guess it's a question of what do you want? Do you want a ridiculously good shot stopper, or do you want someone who can distribute well and has and he can play that sweeper keeping role? I mean, what do you think? How do you think Ragnick will use De Gea? Do you think he'll keep him in his system, or do you think he'll try and use Henderson, for example?
I think with Henderson, I know he played against Young Boys and he did play pretty well, but he still did. If he was overly impressed with Dean Henderson, I don't think he would have subbed him off for Tom Heaton. That's how I look at it. If he was looking from, if I was Ragnick and I was looking from the pitch, and I thought, oh yeah, Dean Henderson's done so well. Don't get me wrong, he is amazing at his distributions, Dean Henderson. But at the form that De Gea is in, I can't see him getting dropped at all because, in my opinion, I would much rather have a brilliant showstopper. Even though he doesn't command the back line, I still would rather have a better showstopper who can save us in games. Because if you look at Dean Anderson, even though he's good at his distributions, he's good at his sweeping, that is not always going to be beneficial for every single game. You look at the Liverpool game last year where we lost it, it's not always going to work. So I'd much rather have a better showstopper at this moment in time until I find someone who can be a bit of both.
That's fair. I think that's fair enough. Right. Okay. Just over the hour gone. I think we're going to call it a wrap, guys. Thank you guys so much for those who are watching, got involved. Make sure that when the stream finishes, that you comment on the video. It helps with the algorithm. Like, share, and subscribe to Red Devil Studio. The link to Devils United, i.e. Maisie's channel, is in the description. Head over there and subscribe. And Maisie, where can they find you on Twitter as well?
My Twitter is at 2_MUFC Maze. You can find me through there.
Make sure that you follow on Twitter as well. And if you want to have conversations, because Maisie is a very knowledgeable, not only United fan, but I think football fan in general. So make sure that you hit her up as well. Thanks so much, guys, for watching. Have a nice day, everybody. Take care and cheers.
Bye.